Hello, my YouTube family. I hope you all had a blessed day. So many books have been written by the winners of wars depicting their stories. I think it is time for our story to be told. I encourage all of you to research for yourselves and learn the true history of our people. Teachers, you can use these videos to teach lessons in your Black History class. Students, when you're thinking about doing a report for Black History Month, come to our channel, go through the library of videos, and pick one of the people that we highlight. Out of the millions of potential subscribers, we just want to reach one so each one can teach one. Let's get familiar. In today's episode of Black History Monday, we take a look at the story of the Ocoee Massacre. The Ocoee Massacre was a white mob attack on African American residents in northern Ocoee, Florida, which occurred on November 2, 1920, the day of the U.S. presidential election. The town is in Orange County near Orlando. As many as 60 or 70 African Americans may have been killed during the riot, and most African American owned buildings and residences in northern Ocoee were burned to the ground. Other African Americans living in southern Ocoee were later killed or driven out on the threat of more violence. Ocoee essentially became an all-white town. The riot has been described as the single bloodiest day in modern American political history. Orange County, as well as the rest of Florida, had been politically dominated by Southern white Democrats since the end of Reconstruction. But in the weeks leading up to the presidential election of 1920, African Americans throughout the South were registering to vote in record numbers. During this period, the Ku Klux Klan was having a revival, having established many new chapters since 1915. This resulted in a tense racial and political climate. 3 weeks before Election Day, the KKK had warned the African American community that not a single Negro would be permitted to vote. Judge John Moses Chaney, a Republican running for the Florida Senate, had started a voter registration campaign to register African Americans to vote in Florida because they had supported the Republican Party since Reconstruction. Mose Norman and July Perry, both prosperous African American landowners in Ocoee, led the local voter registration efforts in Orange County, paying the poll tax for those who could not afford it. In an effort to preserve white one-party rule, the Ku Klux Klan marched in full regalia through the streets of Jacksonville, Daytona, and Orlando to intimidate opponents. It threatened Judge Chaney prior to the election. The race riot started as a result of white attempts to suppress black voting. In Ocoee and across the state, various black organizations had been conducting voter registration drives for a year in order to have an effect on Election Day. Blacks had essentially been disenfranchised in Florida since the turn of the century. Mose Norman, a prosperous African-American farmer, tried to vote but was turned away twice on Election Day. Norman was among those working on the voter drive. A white mob surrounded the home of Julius July Perry, where Norman was thought to have taken refuge. After Perry drove away the white mob with gunshots, killing 2 men and wounding 1 who tried to break into his house, the mob called for reinforcements from Orlando and Orange County. The whites laid waste to the African-American community in northern Ocoee and eventually killed Perry. They took his body to Orlando and hanged it from a light post to intimidate other blacks. Norman escaped, never to be found. Hundreds of other African Americans fled the town, leaving behind their homes and possessions. Family, this is one of those lessons that, I hope, has taught us all that we need to learn to get along for the betterment of every being on this planet. If we can wipe out the hate, we can all prosper from the love that remains. Next week, Monday, we will continue to spotlight contributions made by Black people throughout history. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this valuable information with your loved ones. Click the notification bell so you will be notified when we upload new videos. Find The Awakening Frequency on Twitter and Instagram, and also Facebook. Again, researching is key. Always do your own research and never just listen to what people tell you. We are The Awakening Frequency. Out of the millions of potential subscribers, we just want to reach one so each one can teach one. Peace.